Welcome back to Law Talk. We got the Perry Mason music.
I like it.
Getting warmed you up.
Put us in the mood.
Yeah. So, what do we do? You find yourself in court, and you're trying to defend somebody from a DUI. Maybe they did something wrong at the when they got pulled over. What are we supposed to do when we see that light in our rearview mirror? We've been drinking, and we'll take it from there. What's the best thing to do?
The best thing, like I said before, I think the best thing to do is to just do what the officer says. You're going to probably be asked some questions before the investigation starts. Where have you been tonight? How much did you have to drink? What did you eat? You do not need your rights read when an officer starts asking pre-investigatory questions like that. That's a Supreme Court case on point. So these questions are lawful for them to ask, and you should answer them.
So if we've been drinking, and he asked us if we've been drinking, should we engage in that conversation, or is it better just to keep our mouth shut and say, look, I don't feel comfortable talking? You can.
As long as you're non-combative and you don't feel comfortable talking, you don't have to. I think that if you're intoxicated and the officer, if you smell, if you're showing objective symptoms, if you've been driving poorly, the officer's already starting to gather evidence against you.
He knows whether he's going to bring you in or
regardless
not,
of
just
what
by the way you've been driving, maybe. I don't know.
I will say there are times in court where your honesty can help you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're honest with the officer and it shows to the district attorney and the judge sees that, you can get a better outcome out of your case than by just saying nothing. And sometimes that does happen. It's definitely not a guarantee. So it just depends on the situation you're in. If you want to be honest with the officer, you may get rewarded for it later. He's already pulled you over for a reason, and most likely on a DUI, most people I've encountered get arrested anyway.
You're not going to talk yourself out of it if you're
I don't think
there.
So. No, I don't think so. I think one of the things also that people don't understand is that they don't have to do the field sobriety tests. They just don't have to do them. They can tell the officer that they don't feel comfortable doing them. They're only used to be used against you. I've seen instances where people pass their field sobriety tests and the officer still concludes that they failed. So you do not have to take them at all.
I tried to do one of those one time when I was completely sober in the middle of the day. And
they're hard.
I still had a hard time getting
it
right.
They're extremely difficult. I've tried them. I know instructors in the Valley that teach them, and they come to the same conclusion. Those tests are almost designed for one to fail. I've never seen anybody just walk away from a DUI after giving great field sobriety tests, because that's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to be a way to find you guilty of DUI.
So what happens if you refuse it?
The field sobriety test, he just pulls out the breath machine after. And then you have a choice. That breath machine you can refuse, and it may help your case, but it will suspend your license for a year.
Ooh.
You have signed an implied consent on your driver's license that says if you are pulled over and you have this license, you are consenting to be you have consented to be tested for alcohol and drugs. You will lose your license for a year if you refuse. So your court case may become better because they don't have a number, but you're going to lose your license for a year. And then on top of that, they may have other ways. They may ask you, well, do you want to give blood? They may talk you into it. We'll get into blood in a minute, but they may have, if you don't give a breath test, they may ask you for blood, and you may not know that you have a right to say no to blood. You don't have to allow them to take blood out of your arm in order to for them to facilitate their investigation. They need a warrant.
What more are they going to do if they've already going to suspend your license for a year because you refuse the breath test?
Right.
And then is there another penalty on top if you refuse the blood? Or?
No, it's the same thing. You're going to lose your license for a year.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an issue at your DMV hearing. The officer will, one of the issues, did he refuse? He or she refused. If you did, you're going to lose your license automatically for that year. So you might have made your court case better, but you can't drive anywhere.
What's worse, losing your license for a year or going through and being convicted of a DUI?
I think that if you're a doctor, I don't see how you can't get to work every day. If you can find somebody to take you to work, that's great. If you're a doctor, I know you're on call at night. Sometimes the ER will call and say, hey, get over here. How are you going to find a ride? Yeah. It's almost as if, it's just, try to put it behind you. If you want to resolve your case, take care of it and go to the DMV school, get your restricted and do the things that they want you to do. And then they will allow you to go to work, to and from work and DMV-related activities while you're going to this DMV school. The length of the DMV school just depends on how intoxicated you are. But if you want to put this behind you, if you have to work, I would say, put it behind you and go work, rather than having your license suspended for a year. I don't see how in this modern day people can have their license suspended for that long. You need to drive.
What are the consequences of a DUI?
And you know, it depends on which county you're in. I can tell you what happens in Fresno
say.
for a first-time DUI. You'll get a $2,000 fine. DUIs are one of the most heavily fined cases that you'll see because the state makes a lot of revenue off of them. So a $2,000 fine, depending on your level of blood alcohol, a 3, 6, 9-month DMV school. You will be on 3 years of probation. It is not probation where there's a probation officer. It's called informal probation. They'll keep your file open, basically. If you commit another DUI, they can throw you in jail for the first one. And they will keep track of them. And unfortunately, this is the type of crime where there are repeat offenders, given that alcohol is involved.
How do people end up landing themselves in jail? I mean, other than after the initial arrest period?
Fighting with the officer, that's a great way to go to jail. Being combative. But you know, I'll be honest with the climate now at the Fresno County Jail and how they're releasing even felons willy-nilly almost. You're probably not going to go to jail on your first DUI. You know, we pride ourselves, and I think this county understands that most people shouldn't go to jail for a first DUI. So
unless they hurt somebody.
Right. Well, that'll be a felony DUI. If your first DUI starts off with a bang and you hurt somebody, you're going to be charged with a felony, and that's a whole different ballgame. But you know, hopefully that didn't happen, and you're charged with a regular misdemeanor DUI, and you can collect that $2,000 fine. I do want to say this: they do give you an opportunity to cut that fine in half by going to the Decisions for Life program. It's a very good program. You basically stare at a dead body that's been taken by a DUI, and that's supposed to shock you into not doing it again. It cuts your fine in half in court. It goes from $2,000 to $1,000.
Wow.
And a lot of people like that. And, you know, it scares young kids that get DUIs, too. So there's some utility to it, and it cuts the fine, so it works out.
I guess so. I think most people would do that to cut the fine.
Oh, yeah.
For $1,000.
Yeah, I've
You
never
might
had
have
anybody say
nightmares
no.
for a while, but
You know,
I guess that's the intention.
it is, but, you know, in this society with the economy the way it is, and people need money.
Yeah.
And they're going to need that $1,000 to do other things, to pay for perhaps their lawyer.
So how much does a DUI increase your automobile insurance?
It depends on your insurer. I think the biggest thing that you need to realize is that some insurers, once you get that first DUI, they're going to dump you. And you need to make sure that your insurer does not do that. I've heard of several doing it. Then reputable companies that I was shocked with, it's not just the increase in the premium. You may not have insurance from that insurer anymore.
So then you just got to go on the internet and find somebody
right.
else. And
There's a
it's
lot of
so
low-cost
expensive,
right.
You got to get the very minimum.
Exactly. You'll become one of those folks.
Okay. What other costs are there to do? You've got to pay the attorney.
You got to pay the attorney.
You might have to pay bail, or
bail,
maybe just wait.
Yeah, you know, some people with the way that the jail is releasing people, if you just wait, if you end up in jail for some odd reason on a DUI, you probably will get released. I always tell my clients, don't wait for the jail, just bail. You can come to court on bail. You don't have to worry about going to jail pending your proceedings. This is really for people who have multiple DUIs. I think that for a first-timer, the officer's most likely not going to even take you to jail if you're cooperative. He'll give you a ticket with a court date and say just go to court and take it up then. So.
But they're not going to let you get back in your car and drive home.
No. They
won't
won't
take you home or something,
or
they let you call
what
somebody.
They end up calling somebody. They make that person sign a form stating that they're sober enough to drive this person home.
Don't they take your car?
Yes,
and
that is a lot
then you
of.
got to pay money to get it out of the tow yard.
There's a lot of controversy about the car taking because you know a lot of people think
it's a whole nother show.
It's a whole nother show, and it's a whole nother revenue stream for the state by impounding cars and making people pay to get them out. That happens a lot, and it could be around $1,000. I've seen $500 bills. I've seen $1,000 bills. It just depends on your car, and that is an expense that has to be paid almost immediately to get your car back. It's not easy. It's not easy getting a DUI.
Yeah. You hear about that impounding the car all the time with people that don't have a driver's license.
Exactly.
Maybe they can't get a driver's license because they're not here legally, or maybe next year they might be able to get a driver's license when the new law goes into effect.
One of the biggest critiques of these checkpoints is that many people feel that they're used by law enforcement not to catch DUI offenders but suspended license offenders, and so that they're basically getting rid of the requirement to have probable cause to stop you. You're stopped at a checkpoint. They find that your license is suspended. They boot you out of the car. They take your car, your vehicle, and impound it. And a lot of people, say, "Well, hold on a second. That's not why this was designed. This was designed to prevent people from driving drunk on the streets. What does this have to do with that?" But it plays into the hands of folks who say, hey, this is a big revenue stream for the state.
So when you see, going back to, say, a DUI checkpoint, because what we were talking about before, it was from the context of being pulled over. Oh, but we're about to run out of time. We only have about a minute. But, do you have to pull over when you see a checkpoint? Or
the law says that you should have a way to avoid it, that you should be able to turn away from it and to leave.
I've never seen one of those before.
Good luck finding one in California. And some checkpoints are found invalid based on
I thought
that.
you could actually get arrested if you didn't.
You shouldn't.
If you turned away.
What they do is they'll wait till you commit the slightest traffic infraction and then pull you over. But they'll follow you. It's not supposed to be like that. So my advice to you is, if you can't see that, just go through the checkpoint.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you
very
for having me.
informative, especially the things that you said about the DMV hearings, that you're supposed to do something within 10 days.
Yes, most people don't know how time sensitive that is.
Yeah, I had not heard very much about that. Well, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
on. And tell us one more time how people can get a hold of you.
441-9100 or salhablaw.com, SALHAB law.com.
All right. Well, maybe one time we'll get you back talk
I'd
about
love
other
to.
checkpoints
Thank you.
and car impounding.
Thank you.